Iceland is known for its extraordinary beauty, glaciers, geysers, and natural hot springs. But a rotting hulk of metal has become one of the country's most popular tourist attractions. ABC's Maggie Rulli journeys there with the pilot who helped crash land it 5 decades ago.
Hidden among the glaciers, lagoons, and fjords of Iceland is an unlikely tourist hotspot. In the land of fire and ice, it's this rotting hunk of metal that's now become a must-visit destination.
It's a plane crash. I highly recommend checking it out if you're in Iceland.
Everybody hold on!
This weathered American military plane has been abandoned on this black sand beach for more than 50 years, since it crashed on the Sólemasander coast in 1973. We traveled to Iceland, making the hours-long journey.
This landscape's incredible. You do feel like you're just on an entirely different planet.
To find out why this U.S. Navy plane ended up here and what happened to those on board. Decades on, the mystery and beauty of this crash has now taken on a life of its own. It was first featured in Icelandic rock band Sigur Ros's visual album Heima. Then in the Bollywood film Dilwale. And when Justin Bieber skateboarded across the top of it in his I'll Show You music video, the landmark's popularity skyrocketed and cemented its place in pop culture.
We actually, in tourism in Iceland, we call this the Justin Bieber effect. When something happens that kind of blows up a new place or a new destination or some point of interest that wasn't very interesting before.
The eerie terrain inspiring some to even take Star Trek-inspired photos on location.
It's incredible to be standing here knowing that hundreds of people make the trek here every day to this plane crash in the middle of miles and miles of barren, remote landscape.
Like every single person I've heard has talked about this plane wreck.
Really?
Yeah.
What is it about a plane wreck on the beach that feels so alluring?
It's just that picture of that plane there sitting here for so many years and enduring.
Thousands of miles away in Memphis,
We've just finished packing for our Iceland adventure.
Greg Fletcher is making his way to Iceland.
Beautiful.
But Greg has been here before, more than 5 decades ago.
It's still a unique place, and I owe my life to that airplane.
And what's it like being here?
It's surreal. It's surreal.
It was Greg who crash-landed that plane, and today he'll finally reunite with what he calls the old bird.
Good grief. What a sight. That's where I was sitting. Nice. You know, I'm actually glad that it's here and become this magnet for tourists. It's this sort of iconic thing.
Wanted to come back and set the record straight about how it got here. I think the real story is every bit as interesting, maybe more interesting than the false one.
What's the false one?
The false one is that the pilots ran out of gas or shifted to the wrong fuel tank. And that's, you know, not how it happened.
Back in 1973, Greg was just 26 and was out flying the day before Thanksgiving.
One of the worst days and one of the best days of my life. I was a very lucky man. Very, very lucky.
Greg tells us he was in training out on a routine resupply mission when the lead pilot gave him the reins and the weather suddenly turned.
We encountered basically a wall of ice. The airplane started bucking and jiving like a barroom bull ride. The ice was hitting our windscreen like somebody shooting at it with a fire hose. It choked off the airflow to the engines.
With both engines dead, the crew had a difficult decision to make, gliding in low visibility in between a glacier and the frigid North Atlantic Sea.
The question is, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay on that course and collide with gray rocks and ice? Or is there an option?
At the last second, Greg saw the beach.
We were able to touch down on that flat sand close to the surf, and boom, came up the West Bank and came to an abrupt stop.
So this is exactly what it looked like 50 plus years ago.
Correct. That was taken the day after the accident by crews that came out here to salvage the engines and the electronics and the seats and everything else that was salvageable out of the airframe.
All 7 people on board survived. And all these years later, Greg's kept a special part of the plane with him, the yoke he used to steer the plane to safety.
Yeah, I brought the yoke back. I thought they deserved to be reunited.
Yeah.
It's a talisman.
Yeah.
It reminds me of how lucky I was.
The story of the crash has become part of Icelandic legend, turning Greg into an accidental hometown hero.
So we do it this way? All right.
A local tour guide stunned when he found out who Greg was.
It's kind of like meeting a real-life Solly.
I think we can definitely thank Greg for saving all those lives and then decades later kind of creating a point of interest for Icelandic tourism, yeah. He did a good job.
The Sólheimasandr site is part of a growing trend of wreck chasers, people who seek out these crashes around the world.
How popular is crash tourism?
I think there's enough people interested in it that there are websites that tell you where to go, and there are tens of thousands of airplane crashes that have never been cleared away, mostly military, but some commercial airplane crashes as well.
Christine Negroni is an aviation expert whose new book has taken her to crash sites from Seattle to Australia.
I think people are fascinated by air accidents, and they don't actually see them. They may see them on the news, but to actually experience it, walk around it, you know, it brings it home.
Culture's fascination with plane crashes is seen in movies like Sully.
We are unable. We may end up in the Hudson.
About the pilot behind the famous Miracle on the Hudson. And Society of the Snow, retelling the true story of a plane that crashed in the Andes. Even fictional TV series like Lost play into our obsession with surviving a plane crash.
9 times out of 10, if you're in a commercial airplane crash, you're going to survive. Your part as a passenger is to pay attention when the flight attendant is telling you what to do. Take your headsets off, listen, be situationally aware.
And for Christine, it's about more than the crash. It's also about the people in the cockpit and what we can learn from them.
When Greg walks around the airplane and takes a look at it and tells us his story, which is fascinating, it's really not just about Greg. It's about the pilots on board, their ability to work together, their skills, their human resiliency, and it's a real principle in why airplanes are so safe. The humans involved.
Greg stayed in the Navy for 2 more years after the crash, going on to become a lawyer, dad, and now a granddad, and says he never lost his love of flying.
People call you a hero for this landing.
I'm not a hero. I just did what I was trained to do. I was a lucky man.
Our thanks to Maggie.